Hey everyone, Guilty Gunsmith here. Look, I just want to go over a couple of tools before I really start getting into, the whole cleaning videos and history and that kind of stuff videos. So, what the foreseeable future of this channel is going to be is um, me pretty much showing you a firearm and me explaining how to clean it, going through a little bit of the history of it, and then going out and shooting it. So I'm going to try to keep these videos right around the 30 to 45 minute mark. So yeah, that's the goal at least. I don't know how that goes because those of you who know me know that I like to talk. So first off, we're going to sit here and talk about is screwdrivers. Okay. Now, most people have screwdrivers like this, right? And I'm going to try to, right? And now this is an old Craftsman screwdriver. Everyone's got one of these in their toolbox. But you see how the two edges come up almost to a point, right? So it's a wedge, right? You do not need to get those. Now, I have a complete set from Brownell's Magnatip. I love them because I can switch out the screwdriver heads and they're magnetic, right? So see, I've got a little bit of metal shavings connected to it, but that's okay. That's okay. But this is gunsmithing screwdrivers, right? So you see that it's parallel, right? Compared to a wedge. I've got to do better. This is why we should have 3 hands or 8 hands or whatever, right? So the sides are parallel and then it's squared off. Now on most firearms nowadays, you don't need a screwdriver set, right? So I don't expect you to go out and spend, $300 on this set, right? You don't need it, okay? For the most part. I'll say that again. For the most part, okay? But in a lot of firearms, there are, especially when you're talking about pistols, you've got revolvers, you've got 1911s, you've got stuff like that to where you have grips that come off. You need a screwdriver, okay, just to get those grips off. So, yeah. All right, next up is going to be punches, right? So I've got 2 punches here. Okay, there we go. Now you see the one that's moving has a flat nose and this one kind of has a dimple at the top, okay? You're more than likely just going to need the standard flat ones, right? Because this will do most of what needs to be done. Don't go out and buy these with the dimple because the dimple is for rolled pins, okay? And for those of you who don't know, rolled pins are basically where they took a sheet of metal and they rolled it up kind of like a burrito, right? And put it in. So there's still a hole through the center that the dimple would actually go into, and then the outside of the punch would actually be used to hammer that pin out. You're more than likely not going to need these, and I can't think of a single weapon system that I plan on covering to where you would need one, right? So if you're going to go out and buy punches, just don't buy the ones with the nipple. All right, something else that I use is these dental picks, right? Very simple. They got 2 edges, right? I go after the ones that are aluminum, right? Because they're a lot more flexible. I can bend them the way I want, so on and so forth. And I don't have to worry about scratching up the finish so much. Now, what you're going to use a pick for is going to be cleaning out screwdriver heads, or screw heads, excuse me, right? Because it never fails. There's going to get gunk and build up and everything else in there to where you're not going to be able to set your screwdriver bit in there very securely, and thus you could cause damage to the screws if you don't do it. These are also wonderful in areas where there's a lot of built up carbon, especially in like 22s and that kind of thing. And yeah, they're just fun to have around. But once again, I like the aluminum ones. You can also get them in brass. Those would be fine. Just stay away from steel, stainless steel, things of that nature, right? Because brass and aluminum are weaker materials than steel, so yeah, it won't cause damage to the steel. All right, the next thing I'll use from time to time is some steel wool. Now this is Quad Alt or 4-0 steel wool, right? You can pick this up. It's fairly cheap at most of your hardware stores. And what I use this primarily for is if I have a fine amount of rust on the outside of the firearm, I'll put some oil on this and then just very lightly start scrubbing away. You don't want to apply too much pressure because then you can remove the bluing. But yeah, this works great. All right, and something else you can get, I get these from Harbor Freight, right? These are just little magnetic organizers, right? Can you see my daughter likes to keep her hair ties in here, right? But they're magnetic, okay? So I don't have to worry about parts falling out and losing them, okay? Because the better you can be organized when you're working on cleaning your firearms and that kind of thing, the better. All right, so now some of the oils and cleaning solutions and things of that nature that I use. Now there are thousands of cleaning solutions and that kind of thing out there for firearms, but I'm going to go over the ones that I use. I use a lot of Hops number 9, right? Hops number 9 has been around forever, okay? But I go through a lot of it here, and I don't have a big container of it, so I'm sorry. But I sit here and usually just put it in a glass jar, keep it here on my workbench, right? And when you go to apply it, you're going to need a toothbrush, right? These are cheap ones. I don't know where I've got these. This one I'm probably going to throw away here shortly because this is a wonderful applicator for oils and cleaning solutions. Now another cleaner that I use is Ballistol, right? It cleans, it lubricates, it does all kinds of fun stuff. I really and truly like this. Once again, I have a separate toothbrush for it, right? And then this is going to be one that most people might disagree with, but I don't really care, okay, if you disagree with it. Because if you get I get firearms in here from time to time that have mud on them, like legitimate mud and dirt and stuff like that, right? Now, granted, I could go over it with Hops, I could go over it with Ballistol and clean it all up, but what I find works best is a simple bottle of water, right? And I have a toothbrush in it as well, okay? And I'll just take it and scrub, especially in like butt pads or butt plates. Most of them are checkered, that kind of thing. I'll just get in there and scrub really good with it, then wipe it down with a clean rag, and then proceed with oiling and that kind of thing. Now, when it comes to oils, I've used all kinds of stuff. I've used Rimmel, I've used CLP, I use Ballistol, steel, but something else I've started using a good bit is this Lucas gun oil, right? Because it has a wonderful applicator on here, right? And it is a relatively thin film, right? All right, so we've covered oils, we've covered screwdrivers, we've covered other little supplies. Another thing that you're going to need is a cleaning rod. You can get big long ones, but what I encourage everybody to do is just go out and get a kit like this, right? So you're going to have some cleaning rods in here. I've had this one for quite a while. I think I got it on a box of stuff that I bought. But in it, it's going to have gun oil. It's going to have a box of patches. And it's going to have some brushes, right? Which this is a shotgun brush, but it's big enough for me to show you. These brushes are really good. I usually will drop them into a little bit of Hops number 9 and then you will attach it to your rod, and you will just brush like you're brushing your teeth. I mean, plain and simple, it's that easy. Okay, and then you'll pull it out, and then you'll have ones kind of like this, right? They're either going to have a slot, or they'll just be a kind of a round piece with a point on the tip. Okay, these are to hold patches. So you'll take a patch and you'll just run it through here, and you'll run it through. It'll be dirty. You switch out patches. You keep doing it until the barrel is clean. Now with shotguns as well, you'll get these, right? What I recommend these for are after you have them cleaned and got all of the cleaning solution, the Hops No. 9, the whatever, out of it, then you'll douse this in oil, right? And then run it through to oil it, and then come back with a few more patches, right? Just, once again, it's not going to get all the oil out, but it'll get a lot of the oil out. Now, your cleaning rods, one's going to have the T-handle, right? And then on most of them, you'll see these two little lines, right? Up, there we go. These two little lines show that this is the end, okay? And sometimes you can look and see that the hole is a little bit smaller, right? The power of the 5 head. There we go, right? To where your middle rod will not screw into this, okay? It just won't do it. Okay, but they just screw together. Now, once again, you don't need to sit here and bear down and tighten them. They just need to be nice and snug. And now you've got your rod that you'll push down and pull out and that kind of thing. These cleaning kits, you can pick them up at almost anywhere. They have ones that's strictly for rifles, other ones that are strictly for pistols, shotguns, or you can get one if you have pistols, rifles, and shotguns. Get back in there. You'll have ones that are universal, so they have a little bit of everything. Now, let's say you bought a cleaning kit, right? And for whatever reason, it doesn't have a brush for a 38 special, right? So you need a brush for a 38 special. Don't go out and buy a whole nother cleaning kit, right? You can actually buy the individual brushes and jigs, by which is what I call to hold on the patches. You can buy those. They're cheap. They're usually, $7-10 maybe. I prefer the jigs to be aluminum or brass, but once again, I go through them a little bit more than the average person does. And since we're talking about patches, you can actually pick up bags of patches, right? You can also cut up old t-shirts and use it. That works just fine. You're going to need rags. Don't get, your wife's or spouse's or whoever's really nice, towels that are only used for the guest. Don't get those. What I'll usually do, and I don't have one sitting over here next to me. It's over there and I don't feel like getting up. What I'll do is go to like the Salvation Army, go to yard sales, go wherever, right? To where you can find towels that are old, right? And I cut them up. I usually cut them up about 8-inch squares, and that works best for me. You can also use the red shop towels, but be careful because they will leave lint everywhere. Okay, so just be mindful of that. So yeah, that's about it. If I start working on a firearm, showing y'all how to clean it, if there's a tool that I didn't mention, I'm sorry, right? But this is kind of the basic stuff for most people, okay? Once again, most people. So yeah. Now, full disclosure, I don't clean a lot of pistols and rifles, and, well, shotguns, I'll still do it this way to an extent. Unless they're just really, really dirty. I usually put them into my Sonic Cleaner, and that's it. Okay. Sonic Cleaner is basically a vat of water in a cleaning solution. You'll put the firearm and firearm parts in it. You turn it on, and it makes some vibrations to where it will actually break up all the carbon buildup and that kind of thing. Now, on shotguns, I'll do it, but if they're really dirty, the Sonic Cleaner is not going to get them 100% clean, and I go back and do this. So yeah. So anyways, once again, I'm going to try to do maybe one a week, right? I'm kind of behind on some of my work right now. So yeah. And yeah, that's about it. Whenever I do them, I'm going to, say, hey, this is a revolver, right? This is a Smith & Wesson revolver. The basis of cleaning, though, are going to be the same for just about every revolver, right? I'll kind of go over some differences and that kind of thing, but for the most part, it's going to be the same, okay? And then once I do that, I'll actually go over a little bit of the history of the firearm that I have in hand, and then I'm actually going to go out and put a couple rounds through it, that kind of thing, so y'all can really kind of see that. So yeah, I hope y'all are going to enjoy this, and till next time, y'all have fun.